G'day guys, welcome back to the channel, and today of course we are here to review the very last round of the 2024 AFL season, and what a round we had. Now it started off with a bit of a dead rubber, but it was Collingwood in the end who won by 46 points over Melbourne, 103 Collingwood, 57 to Melbourne. There was a couple of controversial moments in this game. We'll start with the injuries. Darcy Moore did receive a bump by Josiah Pickett, where Moore actually went to his knees and Pickett collected him in the head. Moore was subbed out at halftime with concussion, which we'll talk about the bump in a minute. And then Jack Bowie hurt his knee in the second term and he was subbed out at halftime as well. But getting to the game itself, despite the Demons actually getting the first goal of this game, the first quarter was ruled by Collingwood. The Pies ran the Demons ragged in the first quarter, and honestly Melbourne looked like a bunch of training cones and they looked like they're already packed for their holiday. At times it looked like a training drill, and Collingwood at quarter time led by 27 points, but it honestly could have been a whole lot more. Now it seemed at the start of the second term that it was much of the same for Collingwood. They looked really hot and Melbourne really looked sluggish. However, the Demons actually started to improve as the quarter went on, and in fact actually won the second term. But of course, at halftime, Collingwood still led by 25 points. Now in the third term, Melbourne did keep up with the Pies, which is good to see, but after the 100-point win for Collingwood was off the table, you know, what they had to do basically to give their slim chances of any sort of hope, it really became a lot more of a boring game of footy. Goals were traded either way in the third quarter, but with Collingwood getting the last two goals of the term, they did extend their lead to 33 points. And heading into the last quarter, both teams really looked like they were just waiting for the final siren. However, the AFL had other ideas, as both teams had to come off with about 10 minutes to go because of dangerous weather. And after we saw a 60-plus minute last quarter, Collingwood would eventually get the win by 46 points. So good end to the season for Collingwood. They won 2 of their last 3 games and lost to Sydney pretty close. So good end for them. Melbourne, very interesting off-season coming up. But getting to the bump, I don't think he should be suspended, Josiah Pickett. Now, I know some people will say he elected to bump, so that's giving away his innocence, which I do understand. But he was going to hit him shoulder to shoulder, and Darcy Moore, he had no idea, Pickett, that Moore was going to go to his knees, and he just unfortunately collected him in the head. It's not really much anything Pickett could have done. He wouldn't have known that Darcy Moore was going to go to his knees. I think Pickett should get away with it. However, it is such an interesting one to look at, so we'll just have to wait and see on that front. But moving to the statistics of this game, Nick Dacos, what a game from him. He top scored with the 157. Paddy Lipinski with the 139. Josh Dacos with the 137. Max Gawn with the 106. He's been a warrior this year. Salem with the 103. And then Steele Sidebottom with the 93. And now, guys, let's get to the votes in this game. But first, are you tired of watching the AFL award shows and feeling dirt poor because all the players and their partners are wearing tens of thousands of dollars while you're on the couch slowly wasting away eating your $7 packet of chips that you struggled to pay for? Boo! You stink! Well, we have the perfect answer for you. The new AFL's Night of Nights. On the 30th of August, we will have the second ever Boundary Riders medal count live on the channel. And not only that, but we'll also be announcing the winners of the Boundary Riders Goal of the Year and Mark of the Year awards. And of course, we'll be announcing the first ever Flog of the Year award. So set it in your calendars, guys. August 30, 7 PM AEST, the second ever Boundary Riders medal. The AFL's new Night of Nights. So yes, guys, that's right. We will not be revealing the votes this week. We will be revealing them on August the 30th, the live stream for the Boundary Riders medal. We're going to keep a little bit of a secret for you guys. Me and my brother are the only ones who are going to know. So make sure to stick around for the Boundary Riders medal live count. We did it last year. It was an absolutely awesome stream, and we were so much smaller then, so I really can't wait to do it bigger and better this year. So to the first game on Saturday, guys, it was the Hawks against North Melbourne, which was a rescheduled game, but Hawthorn well and truly were up for it. They went on to smash North Melbourne by a season high for any team, 124 points, 170 to Hawthorn, 46 to North Melbourne. Now, there were 2 injury concerns from this game. Both of them were leg injuries. One of them was to Connor Nash. The other one was to Jackson Archer. Now, Archer was subbed out at quarter time of the contest, while Nash was actually subbed out in the third term. But hopefully at least Nash will be okay after the week off and should be good to go for the first final. Now, this was the wet and woolly conditions from the outset of this game, and it was a very sluggish game to start off, as you would imagine. Now, the only difference between these two teams in the first quarter was a little bit of quality just shown by the Hawks, and at quarter time, Hawthorn would lead by 21 points. Now, early in the second term, both teams did trade early goals, but Hawthorn would actually go on a bit of a run with 6 quick goals in a row midway through the quarter to break away to a big lead. But to the credit of North Melbourne, they did finish with the last 2 goals of the quarter, but at halftime, Hawthorn led comfortably by 55 points. Now, the Hawks would continue to just be a class or two above the Roos in the third quarter, And at one stage, they did push the margin over 70 points, but at three-quarter time, the Hawks still led comfortably by 66. And Hawthorn, in the final quarter, were well and truly just having fun in the wet. They piled on 10 goals to 1 in the final quarter, recorded a 124-point win, which was the biggest in the comp this year. And oh boy, you wouldn't want to be playing Hawthorn in the finals because they are well and truly dangerous. Now, I know they've had 2 soft wins in the last couple of weeks, but they've only had the 2 teams they can face in front of them, and they have capitulated both of them. So great win from Hawthorn. They would be so dangerous. Such a great team to watch. And North Melbourne, really disappointing year. They were very lucky they didn't get the wooden spoon after this massive loss. But looking at the statistics of this game, top scorer in the end on the AFL Fantasy front was Jai Simpkin with the 121, D'Ambrosio with the 117, Tristan Cherry with the 109, Newcomb with the 103, along with James Sicily, and then Dylan Moore with the 98. And of course, missing the votes, we'll get to the next game. Geelong up against the West Coast Eagles, and at halftime, this looked like this could have a 200-point loss on the end of it. But Geelong well and truly put the cue on the rack after halftime and won by 93 points. It was 168 to the Cats, 75 to the West Coast Eagles. Now, there were a few injuries from this game. First of all, we'll look at Brady Hoff. He was running back with the flight trying to help out his teammate when Jinby went to ground and took out the legs of Hoff, who actually received a knee injury and was subbed out soon after. That was really unfortunate. Now, 2 to the Cats seem a little bit more precautionary. One was Tom Stewart, the other one was Humphreys. So a little bit unknown how they will be. I feel like with the week off, they'll be fine. But those are the only 2 injury concerns for the Cats. Now, it was an absolute demolition job to start this game. And the Cats were absolutely brilliant, just poleaxing the Eagles in the first quarter. Geelong kept the Eagles scoreless for the majority of the first term, and after ending with 8 goals going into quarter time, they led by a massive 44 points. And not much really changed going into the second term. The Cats went nuclear, piling on 10 goals of pain. It was embarrassing from the West Coast Eagles, and at halftime, not only did the Eagles only have 2 goals on the board, but they were down by a massive 100 points. It was a really embarrassing performance from the Eagles in the first half. Now, I guess we could have really expected this, as the Eagles really had nothing to play for. They couldn't move anywhere on the ladder, but no matter the result, it was an absolute joke from the Eagles. Now, I could break down the second half, as the Eagles did put some sort of fight up and reduce the margin to under 100 points, but the Cats well and truly put the cue in the rack, like I said. The Eagles did win the third quarter, 5 goals, 6 to 3 goals 2 on the Cats side, but the Cats were truly in second gear, and in the end, the Cats won by 93 points. So, good little warm-up, I guess, for the Cats. They'll have the week off and go into finals. Who knows where they're going to finish? I'm recording this part on Saturday night, so we'll see how they go, the Cats, but really good win from them. They just saw a soft kill. They took it. West Coast, pretty disappointing end of the year. Looking at the statistics of this game, though, Jeremy Cameron, what a performance he had. He got 121, Reece Stanley with the 115, Sean Manor, 112, Paddy Dangerfield with the 107, Tom Atkins, 100, and Zach Guthrie with the 99. So, missing the votes again, let's move to the Richmond v Gold Coast game. Very much a dead rubber for both of these teams going into it. But Richmond did have a little bit to play for with an absolute shellacking from North Melbourne. But in the end, the Gold Coast recorded their second win away from home this year. They won by 28 points against the Tigers, who were saying goodbye to a lot of premiership stars, as the Gold Coast won 94 to Richmond 66. Now, in this first quarter, both teams did have their chances. It was a pretty high scoring start to this game, with the Suns taking the early lead. The Tigers were able to get the lead back late in the quarter, but a late Gold Coast goal saw them lead by 3 points at quarter time. Now, both teams again would trade 2 goals either way to start the second term, but the Suns really started to fire after that. They went on to kick the final 4 goals of the second term, and at halftime they would lead comfortably by 32 points. But to the credit of the Tigers, they weren't done just yet. They brought the heat in the third quarter and really got in the face of the Suns. Not only did the Tigers keep to the Suns to only 1 goal in the third term, but kicked 3 of their own. And despite the margin being 21 points at three-quarter time in the Suns' favour, Richmond did give themselves a bit of a chance. But after the Suns kicked the first 2 goals of the final term, the game was pretty much all done. The Gold Coast won the final quarter, 3 goals to 2, and in the end the Suns ran out by 28 points. So the Gold Coast, this is a pretty disappointing year. A lot of people were expecting them to jump up, but they haven't really done much better than what they did last year. And Richmond, unfortunately, they will finish with the spoon. A lot of stuff has gone against them this year, so really unfortunate end for the Tigers. But looking at the statistics of this game, Tim Taranto, massive score from him with the 14 tackles, 145. Noah Anderson with the 126. Daniel Rioli with the 123. Rao with the 122. Flanders with the 111. And then Jared Witts with the 109. After that, we get to the Brisbane Lions v Bombers game. And Brisbane absolutely should have smashed the Bombers in the end, but they missed so many opportunities in front of goal, which we'll get to in a minute. And Essendon came back like a steam train. They did everything they could in the first half of the last quarter, but just couldn't get a couple late goals on the board. And in the end, the Lions were able to hold on by 20 points. 87 to the Lions, 67 to the Bombers. One injury concern from this game, which was Mac Welfie. He did pull his hamstring in this game and he was subbed out in the third term. But getting to the game itself, the Lions started really well, as you would imagine, with the first few goals of the game, but also would keep the Bombers scoreless for the first half of the quarter. And despite the Bombers finishing with 5 scoring shots in the second half of the first term, the Lions were still lead by 12 points at quarter time. Now, the Lions piled on 3 early goals to start the second term and seeing their lead over a 30-point margin. However, they did leave some of the score out there on the field at half-time, finishing with 4 goals 5. And it did just leave the door open ajar just a little bit there for the Bombers, but they were still down by 28 points at half-time, but could have been a lot further in front. Now, Essendon did kick the first goal of the second half to bring themselves back a little bit, but would only kick one more goal for the quarter. And the only problem Brisbane were really having was their goal kicking. They finished on 4 goals 8 in the third term, which was just a huge issue that they've had over the last couple of weeks, which they really need to fix going into finals. Going back to the game, at three-quarter time, the Lions did lead comfortably by 46 points. But Essendon, wanting to put a little bit of momentum going into their next season, kicked 5 goals in a row to put a little bit of a scare through the Lions camp. And even though the Lions didn't kick a goal in the final term, the first 3 quarters, the damage that they did was well and truly enough, and they would run out winners by 20 points. So the Lions, the only issue they have right now is their scoring on goal, because they are getting enough entries, they're getting enough score sources, they just need to get the goals, and they could be really dangerous in the finals at the moment. But if they continue to miss opportunities, they could go out in the first game. So they secured a home final, the Lions. They give themselves every chance, but that is a real concern going into finals for them after only 1 win in their past 3 games. But getting to the statistics of this game, Zach Merritt highest scored with the 153, massive last quarter from him. Lachie Neale with the 139, Will Ashcroft 136, Kyle Langford 129, Nick Martin 120, and then Josh Dunkley with the 111. And now to the final game on Saturday. It was the Swans up against the Crows. Pretty much a dead rubber for both teams. Swans pretty much locked up top spot, and the Crows couldn't move anywhere from 15th. And it was really much all about the Sydney Swans in the end. The Crows caught back in the final quarter a little bit, but the Swans well and truly put the Q in the rack. They won by 31 points. 121 to the Swans, 90 to the Adelaide Crows. Now, it was such a high-scoring, free-flowing first quarter. And after the Swans had been pretty terrible in their first quarters in the second half of this year, they were absolutely brilliant to start this game. The Swans took the margin to around a 5-goal point in the first half of the quarter. However, the Crows did work themselves closer and closer as the quarter went on, and at quarter time, the Swans only led by 7 points. And as the Swans have shown throughout a lot of this season, their second quarters, they really went on to flex their muscles. The Swans kicked 6 goals to 0 for most of the quarter and led by 43 points. But a late Adelaide goal from Jordan Dawson saw the margin be reduced to 37 points at half time. And it looked early in the third quarter that the Crows kind of turned a corner with the first goal of the second half, but the Crows really didn't lift their pressure, which they really needed to, and the Swans just sliced through them. The Swans continued to just get their run and gun game going, and they just continued to blow out the margin. At three-quarter time, the Swans did lead by 49 points. And in the last quarter, as I said, the Swans well and truly put the Q in the rack. They were done. They knew they were locked down top spot, and they just let the Crows have free reign. And as you would expect, they didn't want to risk any sort of injury. Now, the Crows did win the last quarter, but it really didn't mean much at all. They lessened the margin to 31 points, but Sydney ran away with the win. They've got 3 wins in a row now. They haven't been exactly convincing, but they can take that to the bank going into finals. They've got a couple of players back going into the finals as well. Tom Papley likely will return. Isaac Heaney was rested in this game. Tom McCartan was rested, and may expect Justin McInerney as well. So they're going to get some big players back, a couple of players getting into some form, which is good to see. Sydney all guns blazing at the moment. But getting to the statistics of this game, Nick Blakey top scored with the 141, Matt Roberts with the 128, Callum Mills with the 107, Riley Thilthorpe with the 107, Jordan Dawson with the 101, and then James Rowbottom with the 98. So moving into the Super Sunday, guys, the last Sunday of the season and where everything mattered. The first game was the Bulldogs up against the Giants, and Western Bulldogs had to win this game to secure their final spot, and that's what they did. They won by 37 points over the Giants in the end, 98 to the Bulldogs, 61 to the Giants. There's one injury concern from this game, which was Lathan Vandermeer. He did come off with hamstring tightness in the first term, and he was subbed out at quarter time. Interesting to see if he will be ready for the first final, but let's get to the game itself. Now, this does have to be mentioned. There was a huge breeze going to the Giants' way in the first quarter, and it was about a 3 or 4 goal breeze at that stage, but the Giants didn't really take full advantage of it. The Dogs really held strong throughout most of the quarter, only trailing by 5 points for the majority of it. However, a Cadman goal kicked on the quarter time siren saw the margin pushed to 11 for the Giants at quarter time. But when the Dogs did get the breeze in the second term, they were quick to take the advantage. The Dogs piled on 5 quick goals to take the lead out to above 20 points midway through the quarter. Now, the Giants did respond with 2 of their own, but a late Dogs goal did see the halftime margin be 17 points to the Western Bulldogs. Now, the Dogs seemed to have full control in this game throughout a lot of the third quarter, but just couldn't string 2 goals together, and the Giants, to their credit, were able to stay with them. And GWS were able to kick 2 late goals to reduce the margin to 11 points at 3-quarter time. Now, the Dogs were very quick to kick an early goal in the last quarter, but the Giants did respond themselves and set up for a great finish. But in the end, it was the Western Bulldogs who really showed some real spirit late in this game. They were able to pile on 4 quick goals in the midway point of the last quarter, and that was really enough to put the game beyond doubt. And in the end, the Dogs secured their final spot with a 37-point win. So a great win from the Western Bulldogs. It really should have never got to this point, though. They should have had this final spot locked up a couple of weeks ago, but a couple of poor losses over the last 6 weeks or so has kind of cost them a home final. It could even be top 4 for the Dogs. They were in some good form, but they did enough to get there in the Giants. I feel like at the end of the day, they rested a couple of players knowing that they didn't really matter about the home final. They were just more than happy to be having the double chance. So good win from the Western Bulldogs. Now, getting to the statistics of this game, Lachie Whitfield top score with the 147. He was brilliant with the 42 touches. Ed Richards with the 105. Bailey Dale with the 97. Tom Green with the 94. Bontempelli with the 92. And then Josh Kelly with the 91. Now we get to what a massive upset this was. A massive heartbreaker for Carlton. St Kilda stole this game pretty much on the buzzer by 2 points. 76 to the Saints, 74 to the Blues. Now, Carlton started really well in this game, kicking a goal in the first 30 seconds of it. However, St Kilda did keep Carlton goalless beyond that point, and the Saints actually only kicked 2 goals of their own going into the first change. But the Blues absolutely dominated the territory battle in the first quarter with 16 inside 50 to St Kilda's 6, but at quarter time found themselves behind by 5 points. Now, teams traded goals throughout the whole second term, with neither team being able to string 2 together, but the Saints' game plan did seem a lot more effective as the Blues continued to just waste it going forward, and the Saints tried to keep a lot more possession until they had a clear opening forward. Now, St Kilda did miss some opportunities in the second term with 3 goals 5, but at halftime they did lead by 10 points. Now, St Kilda really started well in the second half with the first 2 goals of it, but it was about midway through the quarter when the Blues started to make this game much more of a stoppage game, which was very much in their favour. And the Blues did struggle to kick 2 goals in a row until late in the third term when they did kick 3 of the last 4 goals to reduce the margin to 9 points at 3-quarter time. Now, Carlton had all the territory battle to start the last quarter, but couldn't put anything meaningful on the scoreboard. However, it took them halfway through the quarter to get the first goal, and when the Blues got their second to take the lead, it felt at that point that Carlton were going to run away with it. But as this great game had one more trick up its sleeve. After both teams missed crucial set shots to seal the win, it was a brilliant snapping goal from Jack Higgins, which won the game for the Saints as they held on by 2 points. Now, I'm recording this part of it just before the Fremantle game, so that's obviously going to decide what happens. But Carlton, what an almighty fall from grace they've had from basically 6 weeks ago. They were sitting in the top 2, and now they are on the brink of missing finals. A real drop-off. St Kilda, a great end to their season. I don't know if it's a false dawn, but it's a really good end to their season for the Saints. Looking at the statistics of this one, though, Nick Newman top scored 158, George Hewitt with the 122 along with Sam Walsh, Paddy Cripps with the 117, Phillippo with the 115, and then Rowan Marshall with the 112. So, guys, to the final game of the regular season, and it was set up for everything for the Dockers. Port Adelaide had their second spot on the line, and it was the Power who broke the hearts of the Dockers to win by 20 points in the end. Port Adelaide 87, Fremantle 67. There were a couple of injury concerns from this game. One was Kane Farrell, who injured his hamstring in the second term. Looked really disappointed on the bench, and he was subbed out at halftime. So that's really concerning for Port Adelaide with Dan Houston out, obviously, through suspension. And now Farrell will probably miss at least 3 to 4 weeks for the hamstring. And Hayden Young hurt his calf in the final term, which proved really costly. He tried to get back onto the field, but was ruled out of the game midway through the final term. Now, obviously, the equation for Fremantle was to win, and they are in, lose, and they are out. And it was a very interesting start to this game. Both teams would trade goals to start off this game, but midway through the quarter, the Dockers were able to string 3 goals together to get out to a 14-point lead. But Port Adelaide did get the last goal of the first term, so Freo did only lead by the 8 points at the first change. Now, the Power actually started really well in the second term with the first 2 goals, but Freo missed so many big chances. The Dockers kicked 4 behinds before finally getting their first goal midway through the quarter, and Freo continued to miss opportunities, as throughout the second term they kicked 1 goal 6, and Port Adelaide were very good in front of goal. But a late goal from Nat Fyfe before halftime brought them to within 1 point at the main change. Now, Port Adelaide actually dominated the early stages of the second half as they had the first 8 inside 50s of the quarter. Now, they also kicked the first 2 goals of the quarter and took a game-high 15-point lead. But when the Power actually threatened to pull away, Freo did drag them back. Now, Freo late in the quarter gave away a costly downfield free kick which gifted Port Adelaide a goal, but the Dockers did quickly respond and at three-quarter time set up for a grandstand finish as Port Adelaide led by 9 points. Now, Fremantle started really well in the final term to get the first goal of it and took the lead to with under a goal. It was really intense at every single contest throughout the final term, and Freo at stages unfortunately just fumbled at the crucial stage while Port Adelaide were clean. And when the Power kicked the next 2 goals of the contest, it looked like they ended the Dockers' season, which they did. And in the end, Port Adelaide did win by 20 points and ended the Dockers' season. They had a chance to make the final to the Dockers. They were rude the last month of the season. They were 3rd on the ladder with a month to go, and they missed the finals. That's a really disappointing end to the Dockers season. Port Adelaide, on the other hand, they could have just got a draw and both of the teams would be fine, but Port Adelaide wanted to give Carlton every chance. I guess Ken Hinkley wanted to do that for Michael Voss, his former assistant coach, and Port Adelaide, well, they're red hot right now and every chance of maybe getting Ken Hinkley that elusive premiership. But with that being said, guys, let's get to the statistics in this game. Andrew Brayshaw top scored with the 122. Jordan Sweet, really good game from him, 119. Ollie Wines with the 98. Caleb Sarong, who was tagged throughout the majority of the contest, with the 94. Logan Evans was brilliant with the 93. And then Luke Ryan with the 92. But with that being said, guys, at the end of the regular season, we have the final ladder to take a look at. So the Swans sit atop the summit of the AFL ladder. Port Adelaide with that win finished 2nd. We'll play Geelong, who finished 3rd. The Giants are in 4th. Brisbane Lions are in 5th spot. The Bulldogs with their win today go to 6th. Hawthorn will play them in 7th. And Carlton, by the skin of their teeth, are in 8th spot. So that will mean that the Swans will play the Giants in the first qualifying final. The Power will play the Cats in the second qualifying final. The Lions will play the Blues in the first elimination final. And that, of course, means that the Bulldogs will be playing Hawthorn in the second elimination final. So, oh boy, guys, I know a lot of you guys watching, your team may have been eliminated from the finals race, but what a final series we have coming up. Amazing to see that the 4 Victorian clubs in the finals race, 3 of them didn't make the finals last year. The other one is Carlton, who scraped in by the skin of their teeth. We have another 4 interstate clubs. 3 of them made the top 4. It's set up for an amazing final series, and I personally can't wait. My team's in it, of course, the Sydney Swans. My brother, I'm pretty disappointed at my brother, of course, Port Adelaide. I kind of wanted Fremantle to win this game. Don't like Port Adelaide had a lot on the line. They could have just conceded 3 goals quickly late in that game, and they would have still finished 2nd, but I understand you can't really do that in the game, and well, Port Adelaide are in really hot form right now, so really interested to see how they go through the finals. But guys, of course, that is the end of the review for round 24. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Of course, remember, August 30, 7 p.m. Melbourne time, we will be doing the live stream for the Boundary Riders Medal live count. All the votes will be done. I've got the Excel spreadsheet ready to go. The stream's going to be awesome, bigger and better than last year, so make sure to check that out. It will be posted throughout the week on the channel as well to remind everyone, of course. But with that being said, guys, thank you for watching the review. If you did enjoy it today, make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure to leave us a follow over on Spotify so you're notified on the podcast and the review every single week. And finally, of course, make sure to leave us 5 stars because that just makes us keep on growing, which is all really good to see. And finally, we do have a video essay coming out tomorrow. Sorry we missed the upload last week, but it is out this week. It's about the AFL Tribunal. So a little bit topical coming out, obviously, with the Keziah Pickett suspension throughout the weekend. But again, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you all next week.